Hello everyone and welcome to episode 5 of the Lazy Dragon Gaming Experience podcast. We have some things to attend to before we start plugging stuff. We want to say thank you to our 25% of Filipino listeners.
Yes. Ooh. Hello, the Philippines.
Hello, the Philippines.
Yes, apparently we have listeners in the Philippines and we're going to shout you out. We don't know who you
Manila,
are.
This is London calling.
Yeah. This is London. Well, no, it's Preston calling.
Oh, yeah.
Hello,
but
hello, random place in the Philippines that I only know Manila. I don't know anywhere else.
This is what I love about looking at metrics. It's just like you see random spikes in audience.
We do have our listener in the United States.
Just one. Wherever you are.
Wherever you are, keep safe.
Wherever that bunker is, you're hiding out.
But yeah, spread it to your friends.
Yes.
But in the Philippines, hello. We hope the weather is treating you well.
Yes.
And if you want any 40k stuff, you can hook us up. We can hit you up.
Yeah.
We can send it out to the Philippines, can't we? I don't see why not. Just hit us up. So it's Lazy Dragon Gaming on all the social medias.
Yeah. If you pay a lot extra, I'll come deliver it myself.
Yeah, if you hand delivered with the expenses.
Unfortunately, the delivery costs are ruinous for that.
Yeah, they are a little bit. But yeah, we can hook you up with it. I'm sure we can manage. Yep. But yeah, Lazy Dragon Gaming on all the social medias, Facebook, Instagram, and all that good stuff. Pretty soon we'll be on YouTube. Well, we are already on YouTube, but we'll be uploading more to YouTube, TikTok, and Twitch. That will be starting later in this year. And if you want anything pre-ordered, currently for Pokemon Lorcana are the two big ones we've got pre-orders for. Yeah. Then you can find at lazydragongaming.com, where you can put your pre-orders in, ready for Paldean Fates, which is almost out, and Temporal Forces, and Lorcana Into the Inklands.
Stitch on the box. Stitch is on the box, right?
Stitch is on the box.
That's the only thing that I care about.
Yeah, Stitch is on the box.
Do you want an empty box just for the Stitch on the box?
Oh, no, what I actually want is a Stitch deck. At some point, I will take the part into Lorcana and be like, somebody build me a deck around Stitch.
Well, currently there is a deck that has a big part of it is Stitch, but it's not the only part. Because like with Magic, you can't just...
Yeah, but like I can add Stitches to it.
The Rockstar Stitch. He's playing a guitar.
Yeah. Oh, the Elvis one.
Yeah, the Elvis Stitch. He's playing...
This is why Lorcana's going to be great.
Yeah, but it is good. I really like it, and that's what I'm going to be streaming. So
exciting.
I'm going to be streaming Lorcana because I'm proper hyped about it.
I'll come and join you.
Yes, yeah. And
I'm not doing streaming myself.
Yeah, speaking segues. Look at that.
God, I'm a professional already. Been streaming for 2 weeks already. I'm a professional.
Yep.
Yes, you can find me over on Onyx Dragon Gaming. We are on all the socials, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, that one wall down by the park.
Yep.
We're also on YouTube and Twitch, where we stream Monday, Wednesdays and Fridays. If you enjoy the rants we have on here, you can direct said rants.
Yes.
I'm getting notorious for already going off on when people poke me about questions, and I go off on rants. So please come join me and...
help Pete get to affiliate. He's nearly there.
He's so close.
Within 2 weeks, he's nearly there.
Once we get to affiliate, we can open up a bunch more awesome things like custom emotes and...
He needs like a handful more followers and he's there.
Just a few more.
Get on there.
If you have a few, it's the odd minute, please go over.
All you need to follow. Even if you don't watch him, just go give him a follow. Yeah.
But
watch him, obviously.
Obviously that'd be lovely.
It'd be lovely, but
you don't have to. We're not forcing you.
No, but please give him a follow if nothing else, because that would be lovely. Also, it turns out that a lot of our listeners are not following us.
Ooh.
And we would like them, the dear listener, to follow us on whatever platform and leave a review on whatever platform you're on. And that's enough.
Feedback.
And I think is enough of the shilling stuff.
This is the bit I've really struggled with online is the whole
shilling part.
I believe the nice phrase is call to action.
Yeah, the relentless shilling of goods and services.
To the old world.
Yes, we have returned once again to the thing I think definitely got me into the hobby. And I think was a big part of getting you into the hobby, which is Warhammer Old World.
I don't know if I've had this little anecdote, but the first thing I ever saw about Warhammer was we were taking a family trip to Guildford, of all places.
My word.
I know, right? We were out on a shopping trip with my nan and my mum in Guildford, and I saw this weird-looking store with some...
Weird-looking folk in it.
Weird-looking folk in it. Some weird little models and things. I remember going inside, and the lovely staff member took me to the cabinet. I was looking at the cabinet, and he explained what a Goblin Doom Diver was.
Which is the greatest thing.
It is really cool. Yeah. He spent 5 minutes explaining how awesome a Goblin Doom Diver was. I thought this was the greatest thing ever. He gave me one of those. Back in the day, you didn't be like, hey, go check this out on the website. They gave you this printed magazine thing, which had like a quick overview of all the different games they did at the time. And I remember poring over it, especially Fantasy, Warhammer Fantasy, which was 4th edition at the time, and also Titan Legions, which is one of my favourites.
Which is now
Adeptus Titanicus.
Adeptus Titanicus.
Well, again, because it was Adeptus Titanicus. It was Adeptus Titanicus. Then it became Titan Legions, and then they rebranded it again to Adeptus Titanicus. But yeah, that's the whole issue thing I can talk about is the art, because that was part of the major thing that got me there. But fantasy, that was the first introduction.
So what got me was I happened to pick up a copy of White Dwarf because I like fantasy stuff in general. I'm a big fantasy fan.
Yeah.
Lord of the Rings being my jam. 100% of it. Like, I am such a nerd for Lord of the Rings, and I don't care. But I picked up this White Dwarf because it had a dwarf on it, and I was like, ooh, dwarves! Awesome. Read through this, got to the battle report, and the battle report was Orcs and Goblins versus, and I don't remember. And that was me. Yeah. I'm like, what is this? So I had a look, and obviously in the back there's a list of the Games Workshop stores.
Yep.
Oh my word, there's one in Preston.
One of the oldest in the country.
One of the oldest still going, yes, indeed. Off we toddle to the local Games Workshop, get talking to the folks that are there. Lovely people, don't remember much of who it was at the time. There's a lot of them still around, actually, in the thing that I met back then, all those many years. 5th edition. Was
a bit later than me.
Bit later than you. Yeah, 5th edition, and that's how I got started in the box. But the box was, I think, Bretonnians and Lizardmen.
It would have been Bretonnians and Lizardmen, yeah. 5th edition, yes.
And that was the box that I got.
Yes. An odd pairing.
Yes, it was a bit weird.
For those of us who don't know,
yes,
what is a Goblin Doom Diver?
Alright, sorry.
Yes.
So, goblins, being the ingenious folk that they are, realised that just yeeting rocks across the battlefield was particularly inaccurate. And also, goblins love adventure. So somebody convinced another goblin that if we made effectively a big rubber catapult.
Think Wile E. Coyote.
Yeah, literally. Yeah. So they give them some makeshift wings sort of made out of leather and sticks and things. They pull him a bunch of goblins, pull him right back and let him twang out into the midair. And then he's got a big pointy helmet on, which is probably weighted as well. And his idea is that while he's briefly enjoying the rush of flight, that he would then find an enemy unit and kind of steer his way onto it, rather than just the luck of. So it's the first sort of guided missile.
Yeah, by guided.
Yeah, I mean, they're still goblins. They're not exactly, and also they don't exactly have they've got 2 bits of leather strapped to their arms. So.
You get a modicum of steering and then a high impact goblin with a spiky hat on, hitting whatever it is. Be that the ground, the side of a mountain, or very occasionally the enemy.
Yes.
But when it does impact, my word, splat.
Yes. This is one of the things I loved about old Warhammer was guess range weapons.
Yes.
Now I know why they took them out of the game.
You can't see me doing this, but I am laying my forearm on the table and pointing at something.
Not necessarily. That's not the reason why they took it out. It's just it's one of those skills that you either have or don't have.
Yes.
But I always loved that about it because it added to the randomness. Like you're there with your cannon or your Doom Diver or whatever, and you're like,
I'm gonna guess.
I reckon that's about 25 inches.
Turns out,
measure it out, and it would be either miles away.
Turns out it was 18.
And you killed some random poor spod with a stick at the back.
And your estimation of what 25 inches is, it's somewhat.
There's
off.
So many jokes we could insert here.
But she told me it was bigger than that.
Yes.
But yeah, so there was all that. But Goblin Doom Diver is essentially goblins launching other goblins at the enemy and occasionally doing damage.
And there's no list of end of willing volunteers because. Even if they know they're going to die, the fact that they got to fly first is enough of an incentive for this.
Definitely. So last episode we did the factions that have returned in Warhammer: The Old World,
featuring
orcs and goblins.
Indeed.
So you can play them.
These are what their core factions they're saying now.
And then what we're doing this week is the legacy factions.
See, I'm going to do a quick tangent here because
just
before they came out. Games Workshop announced that because originally they were going to say, you can still play these, and they're still going to be tournament legal, which is we're not going to update them. And then just before they came out, they went, no, we're not going to let them tournament legal at all. So there's been a much discussion, I will say, heated discussion amongst a lot of my group of friends anyway. And because of that, we've decided we're going to play them anyway, and we're now going to refer to them as renegade factions.
Renegade factions?
Yeah, not legacy factions, they're renegade factions. You're a renegade if you play them or try and take them to an event.
Yeah, well, I think a lot of events will allow you to take them.
I think a lot of the private ones will, and then hopefully, fingers crossed,
GW will
they'll just go sure. Yeah. We can go into a lot about. It's always about I feel like the internal politics here.
Yeah.
Fight between Age of Sigmar and Old World, but that's not what this podcast is.
No. So, we are doing the Renegade / Legacy factions. The factions that are not included, they've launched free PDFs for you.
Cool kids who play by nobody else's rules.
Play by nobody else's rules.
The ones laid down in the rulebook.
And those factions are, I'm going to list them first, and then we'll go back and talk about them. So the first one being the Skaven, and there's a reason
Vile
why.
Ratmen.
Vile Ratmen. The Chaos Demons, not the warriors
Not
of.
mortals or beasts.
Not mortals or beasts. The Vampire Counts,
Aha.
one of my favourites on this list.
Yes.
Of
Sylvania.
Of Sylvania.
And other places.
The Lizard Men.
Yep.
Chaos Dwarves.
Not a fan, Tom. We've hinted this before. Could this be an interesting... We should leave them to last.
Yeah, alright, okay. The Ogre Kingdoms, or just the Ogres.
Yep.
And the one of your favourites, the Dark Elves.
Dark Elves.
Yeah, so the reasons behind all their missing thing will come up as we go through them. But we're going to start quick, fast, kill with some of my favourites. The Skaven. Now, apparently, according to my little thing here, they are in the midst of a civil war at this point.
Yeah, which means you can play each other.
Yes, but apparently the reason why you can't play as the Skaven is they are too busy fighting themselves.
Yeah, and
that's my
totally not randomly coming across dwarves in the Ungrim.
Yeah,
or like any goblin tribes or any
of that. No. Nothing at all to do with the fact that Age of Sigmar is about to have a big Skaven relaunch coming up very soon.
One assumes.
Yep.
Well, I think a lot of these. I'm going to save us a lot of time and say yes. Anytime anything with these legacy factions where they say the reason why they're not doing it is for X, I could list literally a bunch of reasons why that's not the case.
Yep.
Suffice to say, you can go with them. We can try and put our fingers in the air and pretend, but really it's some kind of internal struggle between what's available in Age of Sigmar and what's available for
Old World. Yeah.
So we'll leave that.
Leave that bit. Yeah. Assume we've said that for every faction, apart from Chaos. Apart from Chaos Dwarves, who can go and fuck themselves.
Yeah, they don't exist anyway. Never have.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. So Skaven, the Ratmen, they are basically a Chaos warped, but not in the 4 Chaos Gods section. They are followers of the Horned Rat.
Think Splinter.
Yes, Master
Splinter.
If he was evil.
Yes. So think if Splinter was actually Shredder. No.
Yeah. So they all look like Master Splinter.
I should say that in the variant of the story where he was a normal rat and gets exposed to the ooze and becomes Splinter, the sort of anthropomorphized rat.
Yes.
Skaven are anthropomorphized rats. Their big thing is in the Warhammer world there is a substance known as warpstone. It is literally congealed magic. And one of the 2 moons of the Warhammer world, Morsleep, is made entirely from warpstone. This is the analogue for cheese, with the whole rats, mice, cheese thing.
Yes.
There was a great story where where one of the Grey Seers, Thankful I believe, tried to build an enormous cannon to shoot the moon, because obviously sometimes various chunks break off. For those people who remember the game Mordheim, which happened which was set 500 years before where we are in the current Old World time.
Oh right, okay.
Because it happened in 1999 Imperial calendar. And we are currently 2550, I think.
A bit sooner than that. It's 2250.
2250.
2250.
So, 250 years ago.
About 250 years ago, a comet of warpstone
smashed into the middle of a city.
Yeah, called Mordheim.
And it being the thing about warpstone is it being congealed magic, and magic being the gateway to chaos in this particular realm. It's that basically turned Mordheim into Chernobyl. Yeah, magical Chernobyl. Obviously, you can imagine this is why one of the first factions for Mordheim was Skaven, because they were like, holy crap, there's an enormous, massive chunk of warpstone, quick, need.
Yep. So they use it for warpstone. Skaven use warpstone for everything. So they'll shoot it from guns, slings,
power things.
They'll use it as a power source.
The Grey Seers will usually, they'll powder it up and snort it.
If you are Throt the Unclean, you will eat it. Just in big chunks.
Yes, they'll push it into creatures to make them mutate.
Yep.
It is the basis, it is their currency, it is their power source, it is
everything
to them. All the great plans of the Council of 13.
They are the Skaven's overarching sort of parliament is the Great Council, the Council of 13.
Its membership fluctuates, but normally because they're the sort of factions we see on the tabletop are usually representative of one of the various great clans.
Yes.
So the actual fighting is done by the warlord clans.
So they are your clan rats.
They're your clan rats. Your
Storm Vermin. And Skaven slaves. Skaven
prisoners with jobs.
Yeah, prisoners with jobs. They are basically your foot troops.
Yes.
They produce like big Skaven storm vermin.
Yeah.
More martial in the fact like rank and file than the regular.
Yeah,
the
they
other
actually
ones
know
we're going to
how
talk
to
about.
stand next to each other and understand what armor is for.
Yeah. Whereas the other clans, so they're the warlord clans, and there are quite a few of those.
There's a lot of them. They vie for internally with each other, and there's a representative on the council.
Yeah, the big rat from that is Queek Headtaker. Will be. He's not there yet.
Not yet, no.
But he will be the biggest named warlord clan character.
Yeah, that we see in
so anybody that's played Warhammer Total War, Queek Headtaker, he's your warlord clan's representative. He's the martial aspect of them.
Then we get into the interesting clans.
Yes.
Quick one of the easy ones to do probably is Eshin.
Yes.
The ninja clan.
Yeah.
They went off to Far Cathay and kind of full-on Master Splinter style, sat in, quiet and watched how people did all this, and then came back and taught their friends how to do ninja things. They have assassins, night runners, gutter runners, they're known as, like the slightly more advanced ones. But yeah, that's what Eshin do. They get paid by the people to murder people.
Yeah, they are very often paid in Warpstone to either
they take contracts on anything.
Kill a person or a lord or something like that.
Their greatest exponent will be Grandmaster Snitch. Who is so awesome at fighting, not just with 2 hand weapons, with 3, because he can wield a 3rd knife with his tail.
Yep. And they are dipped in a Warpstone poison solution.
Because again, everything, if you just assume everything we talk about has
Warpstone in it somewhere.
Yeah. So, they're the easiest one.
They're definitely the easiest
We have Clan Moulder.
These
are the Beast Lords.
My favourites.
Yeah, they create, they're famous mostly for their rat ogres.
Yes.
Which are really hulked out, roided out.
And they've updated them now. Haven't they, to the Storm Fiends?
Oh, the Storm Fiends. Well, that's where I think that was in some sort of deal with Clan Skya,
who we'll come to in a minute. Yes,
but there's also Hellpit Abominations, because Hellpit is the name of their sort of big citadel.
Yeah, the Hellpit, which is
their exemplar is Throt the Unclean, the Master Moulder, with 3 arms, a weird man catcher and a whip.
Yes, he's the man in charge, or the rat, I should say, in charge of. He was the one who came up with the Hellpit Abomination. He was his thing. He came up with that, and big Hellpit Abomination. You got big mutant rats, giant rats.
Rats.
What's the one just below a Hellpit Abomination? Looks like a great big giant naked mole rat. What are they called? I can't remember.
Mole rats.
Thanks, Pete.
I know.
You're dead fucking helpful, you, at times.
I know.
They're really good in Warhammer Total War.
They're not in the game.
Are they not?
No.
Oh, fuck you then.
Never in the game, there we go.
No, well, never mind. They're really cool, and I can't remember what they're called. But
Steve.
Thanks. For fuck's sake.
It's alright.
God, you're fucking helpful, you.
Yep.
Right, so Hellpit Abominations, they
Giant rat
ogres, and Storm Fiends, fuck. So, Storm Fiends are
rat ogres with upgrades.
Rat ogres with upgrades.
So these are made with the help of the technologists.
Yes.
Of the Game Society.
That's what you call a segue.
I know. I see what you did.
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
Yes.
Off a cliff.
Yeah. Off a fucking.
Yeah. So the Clan Skya are the Warplock engineers.
Yeah, Warplock engineers. Yes.
Yes, they are. That's where they're sort of the crazy mad scientists.
Yes.
So they use warpstone. They're a bit like the orcs, in which they make a lot of weird contraptions that are powered by weirdness. Their iconic thing is the Skaven Doom Wheel, which is literally a hamster with 2 hamster wheels powered by rats, strapped to a weird lightning generator with a Warplock engineer vaguely pointing it at things.
Yep.
They've upgraded. The Storm Fiends are rat ogres with the sort of cyborg. As much as you could have a cyborg in Magic.
They've got guns, a set of hands, and
all sorts of nonsense.
Great big things that fire great wodging stuff. They're over. They've got a couple of very famous ones, but the most famous
cannon as well.
Yes,
which is just a massive chunk of warpstone that they kind of focus energy through and then blast it mostly at your own army.
What's the dude called? What's his name?
Ikit
Claw. Yes, Ikit Claw is their
exemplar type character.
There is another one, but I don't remember his name. I think he died before the end times, but it doesn't matter.
That's the whole point.
Basically, Ikit Claw is the current master, and they reside in Skavenblight. They're still there?
Yeah, Skavenblight is like the massive. It's called the Undercity as well. Sometimes it's a huge just sprawling city that's under the Empire.
And it was once an Empire city, wasn't it? Apparently.
So, but it was a
human city. Sorry.
Technically, because again, the thing about the S game is their origins are shrouded in mystery. There was some sort of story about a little cursed bell that was given to a town, and then the bell rang 13 times. Yeah. When Morsleb was like full and all the people mutated into rats.
A very Pied Piper of Hamlin-esque vibe going on.
But again, there's not a lot of
it was a really cool story though. I should have brought that Skaven book actually, because I've still got it, and it's really cool.
Insidious Ratman and their Vile Kin?
Something like that.
Yeah, that's the background book.
Yeah.
Back when Games Workshop used to make really awesome themed background books, one of the most awesome ones was the Insidious Ratman and their Vile Kin. I think is the full title.
I think so.
It's really cool. They also used to do really epic collector's editions for these books.
Yes, if you have those.
Oh, if you have them, you certainly got a ton of money.
Yes, very rare.
Just to put that out there, but I don't. I would say keep it because they're freaking cool.
They are awesome. So that is the engineers, the Warplock engineers. Yep. They have also Jezzails, which are like rifles, big guns that shoot.
Rattling guns. Gatling guns.
Warp fire throwers, which are flamethrowers.
Yes, penguin mortars. They've got a bunch
all sorts of really
weird. If you can think of a nasty way to kill somebody, plug some warpstone into it, and Skaven have beaten you to it.
And occasionally it does kill the enemy. Sometimes it just blows up with the rat that's holding it.
Sometimes it's on purpose. Because that's the other thing about Skaven Society, they're very backstabby. It's the one thing that really stops them from getting anywhere.
Yes.
The final sort of big clan is Clan Pestilence. Yes, their whole thing, they are very Nurgle adjacent, as in really right close there.
No,
their whole thing, they are monk. They are probably like religious adherent thingies. They're the plague monks. You have warp sensor bearers, where they've got literally like your sort of holy sensors, except they've got obviously burning warpstone in to make them
with diseases.
Yeah,
they're big on their diseases and the spreading of plagues, and they are very similar to the Death Guard from 40k.
Yeah, except massively less competent and more prone to running away.
Yeah, but they are more fanatical. Sort of a religious fanatic-esque thing about disease and stuff like that.
They have a lot. Over the history of Warhammer, they interact a lot with the Lizardmen.
They're in Lustria.
Yeah, they're in Lustria. One of their big sort of adventures is out over into Lustria.
Yeah, they came back from there. I think the reference to this civil war might actually be that one.
Yeah, well, they came back from Lustria and like, hey, we found some horrible new diseases. Who wants one?
And they're like,
buy one, get one free.
Yeah, and they're all led, as you said, by the Great Council of 13, which is made up of various representatives from these clans.
Yes.
And down
under the nominal leadership of the Great Horned Rat himself, who's their deity.
Yeah, and he is a chaos god of some description.
Kind of. Yeah. He is now officially, I think, but he was always like, I think. Again, with a lot of things, it was kind of vague, but it might be like a demon prince or something. Yeah, is using this Skaven to fuel his eventual rise to god.
Yeah, and they are underneath the Council of 13. We have the Grey Seers.
Yes, they are like albino or grey furred rats with literal horns.
Yep.
They're sort of like the messengers of the Council of 13. They tend to be your generals. They're your big wizards.
Yeah,
they're the iconic mount. A steed is known as the Screaming Bell.
The Screaming Bell.
Yes, which is literally a big, massive bell on a chariot being rung by a rat ogre.
Yeah, and it should
use the latest version of the model anyway. It's freaking epic.
Yeah, the latest Screaming Bell is amazing.
Seb Herbert, who sculpts a lot of the more modern Skaven range, that man knows Ratmen.
Very good.
That range is absolutely gorgeous.
Big shout out to him.
Yeah.
We are big fans of your work.
Yeah, it's really. One of the things I like going back to is when you look at certain sculptors who have defined races.
Yes.
So Jez Goodwin's obviously really famous for defining Eldar, Space Marines, things like that. I would say Seb is the guy responsible for the modern look of Skaven.
And we approve.
My personal favourite has always been Brian Nelson, who he is the guy that made Warhammer Orcs.
Ah, yes.
He's the one that turned them from sort of more sort of capering thing. Like you think about the modern Orc style with their way their faces designed with the massive tusks. Big jaws. Yeah, that was him. He created them. I was, like I said, a little quick tangent.
Yeah, very good. Yes. No, we approve of both of those things.
Yes.
So that's the Skaven, pretty much in a nutshell. Both me and you are fans of Skaven, right?
Oh, yeah. I've never had them as an army, but I've always enjoyed playing against them because they're fun.
Yeah, they're fun to play. They're fun to play against.
Yes.
Another one of those armies that you don't usually take take too seriously.
No, because if you try that, they will instantly kill you.
Yeah, so that's... so Skaven, awesome. We like Skavens. Mm-hmm. And expect an update from Skaven for Age of Sigmar soon, because otherwise they'd be in Old World. So next, on my little list, we have Chaos, apparently who were Chaos demons,
Yes.
because the mortals, as we know, still exist, and they are in the old world.
As do the beasts.
And the beasts, yes. But the demons, apparently, were gathering their strength and sat it all out, which is
Yes.
bollocks.
We're just before one of the greatest chaos invasions of all time, but
they're mustering.
yeah, maybe we see the odd demon here and
Yeah.
there. Maybe it's just because we're I think I'm trying to give them the benefit of the doubt here.
Yep.
I'm assuming it's because we don't see legions of demons.
Yes,
We have the odd incursion where people mess the usual, the classic. Do not read from the book, as we've said before. And people pull them out of nothing.
Yeah.
But yeah, in terms of
we don't
massive
have-
armies, maybe not so much.
Yeah, we don't get big chaos demon armies
Yeah.
flooding through the landscape.
This is a topic we're going to go to a lot more in on a separate episode because they deserve a lot more.
Yeah, so-
the four chaos gods, their realms, and the things.
Yeah.
But yeah, these are the living manifestations of the four chaos gods.
Yes.
The Neverborn, they're known as in like 40k and things like that. They are literal demons from the bowels of hell.
Yeah.
They require a certain. They tend to. The reason why they sort of wax and wane is that when they tend to require a certain amount of magic in the air.
Yes,
to be able to manifest.
To corporealise.
Or at least manifest and stay manifested.
Done manifesting.
Yes. A Discord joke.
Yeah, Discord joke.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we'll move quickly on.
Yeah, so we're not going to cover too much about the Demons of Chaos because we are
You've seen
going to...
them, you know them, you love them.
Yep, but because we are going to do an entire episode on the Demons of Chaos.
If you see our 40k factions,
Yes.
they are literally the
same
things.
faction, yeah. So we're going to do an entire discussion on the Demons of Chaos at some point, so we're not going to go too deeply
We can
into
talk
them.
about cool things like the Bastion Stair and the Garden of Nurgle. And
Yeah, all that sort of really cool, funky
never
stuff, because
forget
it crosses over really well from both.
It does.
Yeah, because they're both old, new, and 40k, all one in one. So that's really cool. So yeah, the Demons of Chaos apparently are sitting it out. That's what it says here, so we'll take their word for that.
Feasting on demonic popcorn.
Yes, indeed. Now, I think these are my favourite faction of the ones they've missed. And this is the Vampire Counts.
Oh, yes.
And I love
Me too.
some Vlad von Carstein and
Specifically
Isabella.
von Carstein.
Yes,
See, this is the
I
thing.
love me some Vlad.
They've always been the poster children, the von Carstein.
I love me some Carsteins.
We have a lot of... There are actually multiple vampiric unions. Again, another absolutely awesome background book the Games Workshop put out was the Liber Necris.
Yes.
Which is awesome because it tells the entire history of undead throughout fantasy. So it talks about how Nagash discovered necromancy, what happened to him, his rise and fall, and then it goes through the vampire counts.
Yep.
The best part about that book is it's written in air quotes by Manfred von Carstein.
Oh, okay.
The last and greatest of the vampire counts.
Yeah, so he will have. So we'll start at the beginning before we get to Manfred because we've got to go through a couple of others. Yes. So in an area of the Empire called.
Well, no, we kind of do a little bit. Just a quick diatribe. Oh. So the vampires originally come from. They're an offshoot of the Tomb Kingdom.
Khemri. Yes.
So one of the kingdoms of Khemri was known as Lamia.
Yes.
When Nagash was destroyed and beaten back by the hosts of Khemri. I want to say princess, I think she's princess queen, Neferata. She took a bunch of books, and as we've said multiple times,
don't read the book.
Yes, and she read the book. She found a recipe for an elixir of immortality, though didn't know how to make it properly. This turned her into a vampire, as we know and love them. But she also turned various members of her court. Then she married a guy called Vashanesh.
Yes,
who was then these guys when Nagash returned, these guys were made the generals of Nagash's army, and Vashanesh was given a ring that would allow him to survive nearly anything, which will become important.
Yes, it will become in a bit.
They all got overthrown. The vampires disappeared. The firstborn vampires, the ones that all took the elixir and weren't subsequently turned, formed the head of the various bloodlines. So we have the Lamian vampires, which tend to be mostly female. The
Queen
Neferata herself, she's hiding in the Silver Pinnacle, which is one of the mountains an old dwarf hold, and they tend to infiltrate and be all like politics.
They are your classic sexy vampire who is sleeping with the noble lord or the noble lord's son and learning his secrets and then maybe turning him later, maybe not, depending on how sort of thing he is. And they are very much dealers in secrets in the dark, the Lamian vampires. They're really cool, and they're Queen Neferata.
Yes, and she lives in the Silver Pinnacle,
yes,
as it's known. Then you have her younger brother, Ashoran,
yes,
who as has just popped up again in Age of Sigmar.
Yes.
They were known as the Strigoi vampires because they went a bit feral and a bit nuts.
Yeah, so these ones are
they're the ones that hang around ghouls
a lot, and your classic flesh-eaty types.
Yeah, more
bestial than your sort of more classical Dracula.
Yes.
They tend to think of themselves as being remarkably pretty. And
that's the thing they added for Age of Sigmar, where they think in the original Warhammer they were just beastie.
Yeah,
but yeah, they've added this. It's one of the things I do like. I'll give them that. The flesh-eating courts, the way they think of themselves, all noble sort of courtiers and stuff. And the way they see the world is like it's all like they live in fabulous castles and wear wonderful cloaks and things. And actually, they're just dragging a stick around. And, yeah,
they're a bit bonkers.
covered in poo and things.
Yep.
So her court vizier. I want to say his name was Wussorin.
I believe it was.
His whole thing was he was really into magic and he was really devoted to Nagash. Really, really devoted to Nagash. His bloodline became known as the Necrarchs.
Yes.
They are they tend to sort of live secluded lives in massive towers. They're just dedicated to the research of necromancy and things. Yep. And they are your classic Nosferatu-looking motherfuckers.
Yes, they are your Peter Cushing vampire, right?
No. They're Nosferatu.
Oh, the other one. Oh, the
1920
Carl thingies. That one, sorry, not Peter Cushing, the other one. The one who.
Peter Cushing was Van Helsing.
Van Helsing, yeah, but I meant he was the famous one. Of Dracula was
Christopher Lee.
Christopher Lee,
yeah.
But not him. The other one, the old 1920s one, with the fangs coming down the front,
the ugly, massive, pointy ears, and they just study magic a lot. Then there was the general of Lamia, Aparash, who hated the fact that he'd been turned into a vampire. He tried to only prey on people who deserved it, so like murderers and things back in Lamia.
Yes, that was it, yeah.
And he disdains the rest of his sort of kind.
That one, yes.
And then he sort of travelled the old world a bit. He ended up fighting a dragon, killed it and drank its blood, and realised that cured the need for him to drink blood.
Right.
So he told his followers, he was like, guys, you can live forever and be these amazing warriors. If you prove yourself worthy enough, you can kill and eat a dragon too. And he formed the lineage known as the Blood Knights. Who are, in the old world thing, if we notice, in the map of the old world they put in for this, the Harkon banner. Harkon is one of the names of the
Blood Knights.
Of one of the famous disciples of Aparash.
Yep.
So,
maybe.
Yes, and then finally we have come to the von Carstein lines.
Yes.
So the Empire province of Sylvania was sort of waning. The Lord of Sylvania's daughter was dying, and he was, anybody please save my beautiful daughter.
If anybody can save my beautiful daughter, they can marry her, and they will inherit my kingdom. And
when a mysterious stranger comes in the middle of a storm,
it had to be a storm,
of course.
Yes.
Yeah. So
and
this mysterious stranger referred to himself as Vlad von Carstein.
Mm-hmm.
There are rumours that he is or was Vashanesh.
Yes,
it's never been made entirely clear.
No.
The only thing we know is the ring that he has, the von Carstein ring,
is Vashanesh's ring.
Yeah. So he saves the daughter, obviously by exchanging a quick blood transfusion.
A quick exchange of bodily fluids later, and lo, is his daughter saved? The good noble.
She's deathly pale and doesn't like the sunlight anymore.
Yes. But she is alive.
Yes.
Well, she's up and about
for
and
a various
talking.
degree of alive.
Yeah. But he keeps his word.
He does.
Vlad marries Isabella for that to be her name.
Yeah. And they are genuinely devoted to each other.
They are,
one of those,
absolutely.
They are absolutely inseparable. They love each other forever and ever and ever.
Yep. They are bound eternally and immortally together.
Yes.
However, they are still vampires.
So Vlad starts off by sort of, actually, he does really well. He sort of reorganises Sylvania. He sort of, because happy cattle is...
Yeah, breeds more.
Yeah. So he literally, he made big reforms, helps the peasants out, makes farming really good. And then he kind of gets designs on the rest of the empire.
Yeah.
And this be his downfall.
Yes.
So he effectively starts... People have more and more rumours of what's going on in Sylvania, and the nobles all start sort of becoming joining the undead court.
More and more parties take place at night.
Right, yeah, we see less and less of them in the
less
day.
and less of them during the daytime, and all of their how are you doings are all taking place after the sun has gone down.
And the servants don't tend to come back from them.
Yeah, and
the catering staff
all their cooks have disappeared, and they don't bring any meat into the castle anymore. But Lo does that.
But so this is eventually there's rumours and stuff, and I think sort of head that off at the pass. Vlad sort of goes, "Ha! It was me all along, Austin," and reveals that he is in fact a incredibly powerful vampire lord, and he invades the Empire. He goes quite far.
Does very well.
Yeah,
it's one of the biggest actual and most
to
successful
He
invasions.
actually lays siege to Altdorf.
Yes, the then capital.
Yes, there is a really cool so there's a really good trilogy of novels that were written at the time. I cannot for the life remember all of their names. It's like Retribution, something and something, which is one of each of the three books is about the three major vampire counts. Yep. Obviously, the first one's about Vlad. Now, the interesting thing is, at this time, there is another vampire that's been turned called Manfred von
Carstein.
And he is incredibly smart. And he organises, so when they lay siege to Outlands, the thing about Vlad was he had this von Carstein ring, and on the various battles that would happen, there's tales he got hit in the chest with a cannonball, and then mysteriously, next day or something, next couple of days, he was there back at the head of the army, and the cannon crew were found flayed, tied to his banner, that kind of thing. So they're like, how do we kill him? The Grand Theogenist of Sigmar, who's like the Pope. Basically the Pope of Sigmar. He'd done some research with a little bit of help, and he convinced a notorious thief known as Felix Mann, I believe.
Felix Mann, yes.
Who he convinced him, he said, look, we know the one way to defeat him is to steal this ring. So he got some inside help from the Vampire Count.
Yep. Well, Manfred was also he was a better spellcaster than Vlad. Vlad was very much more a strategist, whereas Manfred was much more powerful spellcaster. But the other thing Manfred also was super fucking jealous of Vlad because he couldn't really do much.
He was annoyed. Well, it's not that he was jealous. He was just knew he was better.
Yeah.
The problem is that Manfred is just better than you and he knows it.
And he basically, but because Vlad was older and probably his sire, he couldn't actually do anything
go against him,
to overthrow him in the traditional sense.
Helps Man get in and steal the ring.
Yes.
Which then mysteriously, along with the thief, mysteriously disappears.
Yep, we don't see that again for quite some time.
No, and then, when they attack the siege, they lay siege, Vlad leads his forces, and the Grand Theogenist ends up in combat with him, grabs him round the chest and leaps off the wall onto the sort of defensive stakes below, killing the both of them. Isabella, in her grief, kills herself.
Yes, she flies off the handle, she kills everything around her, and then follows Vlad off the battlement, I think, or something, or stakes herself or something. Yeah, she essentially something, she sees Vlad fall, and knows he's dead, and that is her mind shattered at that point, and she just flies into blood and everything everywhere, and then she just impales herself with Vlad. So she goes down at the same time. And with the loss of Vlad's dark magic,
the army starts to crumble, the skeletons,
everything falls apart, and all the sort of followers flee. Altdorf is saved, and we move on to the era of Manfred. Conrad.
So then there's obviously
a
bunch of von Carsteins that all start vying for, I should be in charge, and the one that comes out on top, not through intelligence but by sheer viciousness, because he's also absolutely batshit insane. Yep. No pun intended. Although his special rule used to be called a few bat short of Belfry. He's Conrad von Carstein. He is just where Vlad was ruled by sort of sensible politicking strategy. Vlad just rules with an iron fist.
Yeah, we didn't get any of that from Conrad at all.
He tries the whole thing again. It fails epically. He's not really worth talking about massively.
So no, there's not a lot to say about. The only thing to say about Conrad is that he. At the end,
he kills off a few of the other von Carstein.
He thins out the herd for everyone. He's actually quite good for the Empire and bad for the von Carsteins because
good for one particularly von Carstein, because again a lot of this is all being orchestrated quietly behind the scenes.
But Conrad wanders off mid-battle,
yeah,
and nobody quite sure what happens, but. To him, other than his army crumbles to dust in the disappearance, and Lo surprisingly at this point, after all this sort of bloodshed and machinations and Conrad mysteriously disappearing in the night, Manfred von Carstein, who'd have thought it, the one who orchestrated Vlad's downfall, and now it wasn't my fault that Conrad killed everybody, all your friends.
Nope.
I didn't do that. But as it turns out, I'm
the only one left.
I'm the only one left.
I will reluctantly take the leadership.
Yeah, no. What will I do?
He'd also been off at this point. He'd come back from a visit down to Kemri.
He had.
Where he had met Nagash. Or some part of Nagash's spirits. I think he ends up with one of the 9 books of Nagash.
He does have... he ends up with more than one.
But he
has a book of Nagash. Stop reading the damn books.
But he's become an incredibly powerful necromancer.
He's now the necromancer.
He's also incredibly smart. He does everything slowly, builds up his forces, and then again, eventually he ends up leading a big
and that
invasion, which is like only just thwarted at the Battle of Helfen.
The Battle of Helfen, where it is unsure. Now, it was at the Battle of Helfen that Manfred died.
Yes,
but
technically,
but they retconned that a bit later on.
No, this is what this is a story I love.
Okay,
so he was supposed to be dead at that point.
Yes,
but I believe one of the old writers, Nigel Stillman, wrote him back into some fiction later on, and they were like, "Oh crap, that doesn't make any sense." So then the way they retconned it was that after the Battle of Helfen, a crazy necromancer by the name of Stillman, resurrected, used arcane magics to resurrect Manfred.
Okay.
Yeah. This is what I love. It's when they've gone, "Oh, damn it, Stillman, you messed up." But, we'll just
fold it in anyway.
Yeah.
But does Manfred come back now?
The point we're at in the old world now, those 3 are dead. But the rest of the vampire lineages are all still around.
Still around, just in
there are still
places.
very few lingering von Carsteins, etc., etc.
Yeah, but the bit we're up to in this now, we are going to.
This was about 50 years ago as well.
Yes,
it was like 50 years ago.
It wasn't long ago. So they're all still about, but not in any strength.
No.
But we are going to come back to the vampire counts because in a future episode. Because from the big concept of Nagash all the way through to, I know you don't like it, but to the end times, because there's a really awesome section.
I'll be honest, the bit involving Nagash is really good.
It's a good bit.
It makes a lot of sense. It sets up some really cool stuff. The problem was the execution was then god-awful, in my opinion.
Yep, and I agree. But from Nagash, who we haven't really covered at any point, all the way through to the end times, and just as it stops, I think it's worth doing an episode on because it's wonderful
Nagash
stories.
is one of the great characters of Warhammer Fantasy.
And I'm glad he's in Age of Sigmar as a god, rightly so, correctly so.
Although still always falling to the temptations of those loathsome rat men who keep ruining his great plans, which I do find really funny. The fact that even in Age of Sigmar, he's like, I have this great amazing plan where I'm going to destroy all the Chaos Gods. And they're all like, the Chaos Gods are looking in on him, sort of like, oh no, what's going on here? And then they start laughing, and he's like, why? Why are you laughing? And then he sort of uses his sort of magical senses and goes, oh crap, it's those bloody rat men again!
So when we cover it, you'll figure out why it's always those cursed rat men!
You would have gotten away with it too if it wasn't for those meddling Skaven.
Yes. So next, we move on from the vampire counts, and I'm going to do this in big chunk, and then we'll go back through them, and we'll do them all. So meanwhile, lizard men, chaos dwarves,
and dark elves.
Ogres and dark elves were all insular civilizations at this point that lived far, far away from the old world.
That's true. The dark elves not at all famous for constantly raiding the old world's coast for slaves and things like that. No, there was. Definitely,
it is very true.
Or ogres being like renowned mercenaries across the old world.
It is very true of the lizard men and the chaos dwarves.
Oh no, I will grant you that the lizard men do not give a shite. Although, to be fair, they would have a lot of interaction with the Tomb Kings because below Kemri is the Southlands, which is also one of their big strongholds.
Yes, but it doesn't matter. We haven't gone that far south yet. That's
what it is.
So we'll start in this list order. We'll do lizard men.
The lizard men. So these are the children of the old ones.
They are.
So the old ones created the Warhammer world that we know it.
Yes.
As we know it, they built 2 massive Stargates equivalent
in
the poles.
They are. I think they call them Stargates. I think they do call them Stargates.
They're a way to transport across to various places. Anyway, thing go wrong, they collapse, create chaos wastes.
Yes.
But the creatures that the old ones used to do things were the lizard men. You had the Slan, who are basically big frogs, massively magically powerful. Their job was to interpret the will of the old ones to enact the great plan, and they're sort of the leaders and whatnot. Below for them, if there's any fighting needed to be done, there was the Saurus warriors, who are sort of the generic lizard men types.
Yeah, they're the ones you will see mostly shield, spear or sword.
Or the other, because the thing is they're very heavily based on Mesoamerican.
Yes,
so you're Aztec, Incan.
Yeah, so
I'm not going to pretend that I know. To be looking and go, no, that's Mayan, Incan, or Aztec. But you know what I mean when I say those sort of civilizations. The clubs with the obsidian chunks stuck in them,
stuff like that. And then you basically
below
have
them, the sort of actual workers and people who do everything are the skinks. They're like very sort of small, nippy little lizards, little crests on their heads. Yeah. They've got a bit more intelligence than the Saurus, but they are they're sort of.
So the Saurus tend to be a bit more muscly and a bit less intelligent. The skinks are smaller and definitely quicker thinking.
Yes.
Nimble, yeah, and they tend to be the ones who guide the other working type lizards.
Yes.
So you have your Bastillodons.
Well, you have your basic all sorts of dinosaurs. You've got your sort of Triceratops looking bastards, your Ankylodons. Your big giant raptory types.
T-Rexes, raptors, salamanders.
Yeah, so you've got lots of different races.
And ripodactyls, pterodactyls.
And then you've got the Croxagores as well, which are really, really big versions of Saurus.
And they all basically live in the forest or jungle kingdom of Lustria, which is essentially South America.
Yeah, it's on whole of South America, covered in rainforest. They live in great temple cities. Again, think the big step pyramids of Mesoamerica. And they have they have some really cool history.
They have awesome history.
One of my favourite characters, who's somebody who's still in Age of Sigmar, is Venerable Lord Croak, who is dead.
Yep.
And has been dead for several thousand years. This hasn't stopped him being one of the most powerful characters in Warhammer.
Yep.
He is a big mummified frog, although his latest model. There's got a bit more flesh there, so maybe he's getting
maybe he's repairing, maybe he's healing himself after all this time. It used to be that his mummified corpse was carried into battle and his spirit hovered above it.
So the reason why is he died at the defence of the city of Itza, which is during the big demonic incursion, which the elves kind of sort of sorted out.
Yep.
There was a massive incursion into Itza, which is one of their big cities, and Croak died basically casting this ridiculous spell over and over and over and over again, which became known as the Ruination of Itza. Which, if you ever played the edition where you could cast that,
yes,
you could literally blow up entire castles. Like it was like you used to do Warhammer Siege, where you could like damage walls and stuff. Yeah, you could rip entire chunks of the walls out with the Ruination. So yeah, they sort of wheeled his corpse out, and this deceased like mummified frog corpse just sits there like. Casting small nuclear weapons over and over again.
But yeah, he's back in Age of Sigmar. He's a wonderful new model.
A bit healthier.
Looking a bit more meat on his bones.
As healthy as you can look for a mummified frog that's over 10,000 years old.
Yeah. But yeah, they're very Mesoamerican, very sort of Aztec, Incan, Mayan aesthetic. Yeah. Awesome models.
Especially the
latest release is just beautiful. So cool. We like that.
Slam Mage Priests have always been cool because they tend to go into battle on these sort of magnetically hovering stone chairs.
Yep.
And the latest model for them is absolutely good.
I am a massive fan, slight tangent, of the Age of Sigmar models.
For what? In total?
The ranges are amazing.
Fire Slayers.
Most of the ranges are amazing.
Yeah, that's a rant for another time.
Yeah.
But no, there's a lot. Right.
Caradron Overlords are cool.
Yeah, but I think for me, the best part, the Age of Sigmar armies that get me most excited are the ones that are just Warhammer races.
Yeah, okay.
Like Lizardmen, the Seraphon, they're just Lizardmen.
That's true.
But new.
Yeah.
And Soulblight Gravelords, they're Vampire Counts. But new.
But they're awesome though.
Oh yeah, I'm not saying they are.
Pretty though.
They're not. I'm not saying they're not. They're gorgeous models.
Really
I freaking love them.
Yeah.
But now I can put them on square bases and play them, please.
Yes, I mean, well, you can.
Because I'll be honest, I'm more excited to do that than I am to play in Age of Sigmar. And that's no knock on the game Age of Sigmar personally. I just prefer rank and flank games.
Yeah, but you're old.
I am.
Yeah.
Excessively so.
It's massively...
Some parts of me are really old.
Some of them are newer than others. But yeah, so the...
moving on to my...
Yeah. So the Lizardmen are awesome. We love the Lizardmen. Yeah. Now, the next one on my list, I am very tempted, dear listener, to literally skip this one on principle of the fact that it is the most garbage faction Games Workshop have ever come up with.
Their hats.
You know as well as I do that Chaos Dwarves one, in of itself, Chaos Dwarf doesn't make any fucking sense, and two, the whole aesthetic is garbage.
The Babylonian stroke Sumerian.
Yes, dwarf. Chaos.
I mean,
influenced by magic.
I'd say that the aesthetic is fine because
it's not.
Because there's a lot of historical. We have a lot of historical. Like I said, the Elizabethan, Mesoamerican,
and it looks awesome.
Yes, but no, I agree.
What do they not wear? They don't wear 4 foot tall pointy hats.
This is the problem. Is that if you've ever seen like depictions of ancient Babylonian, Sumerian sort of artwork, and
dear listener,
massive hats
Google Chaos Dwarf model, circa 19 something.
This is the thing that's really funny is they never had their own proper army book. They had a white dwarf army list, which became a separate printable. And technically they've never had a full Warhammer army book.
Good, they're crap. Yeah. Right, so Chaos Dwarves, dear listener, I fucking hate this faction. So I despise it. First of all, what you must know is that dwarves are very, very magically resistant.
Yes, this is part of the thing in the Chaos Dwarf lore, though.
So so epically magic, so much so that in the game, when people cast spells at them, they go no, and the spells are like, oh, it didn't work. But
the background to the Chaos Dwarf, one of the couple of their holds got when there was a big expansion of the Chaos Waste. The very northern tip of the Dwarf Empire got stuck in the Chaos Waste.
It did, and
these dwarves got sort of locked in and didn't really know what to do.
Yes,
and of course, being people, they sort of started meddling with things they shouldn't do to try and keep themselves alive, and this has sort of led to their sort of new society.
Yes, but
and their big snaggle teeth. Let's not forget them.
Yeah, let's not forget they grew massive tusks and
and then decided having a go with magic.
Yeah, so let me get this right.
One thing that I do think is cool about this though is because dwarves are not meant to use magic. The problem is the Chaos Dwarf sorcerers, the longer they use magic, the more they turn to stone.
Which is a good... I like that. Yeah. I do. But we have to remember that the honourable, above all, including unto death, dwarves, fell to chaos to become Chaos Dwarves who imprison and enslave other races.
Do you know what I've just realised?
And tamper with them... to make new races in this
by
forcing magic into them.
This is where Black Orcs come from, by the way.
This is where
Orcs were not strong and smart enough, so they forced a bunch of magic into them, which darkened their skin, made them tougher and smarter.
But
as I said, I've just realised something.
Go on.
This proves once and for all that elves are the best race, because humans fall to chaos.
Yes.
Dwarves also fall to chaos.
Yes.
No chaos elves.
Marathi.
She's not a chaos elf. She's not a chaos elf.
Marathi.
No, she's not a chaos elf.
She's a follower of Khorne.
No, and Slanesh maybe.
She's a lot.
But she tends to use them more. She's not actually a chaos elf.
She
just enjoys a bit of murder and sex. What can you do?
A bit of murder and sex. She bathes in the blood of 1 million virgins every year or something ridiculous while doing odd things with sharp implements.
All right then. We explicitly don't have a chaos faction for elves.
Dark elves!
No.
Yes!
No, they're not. They're just horrible elves. They're not called chaos elves, though, are they? They're called dark elves. You know why? It's because they're not followers of chaos.
But they are!
In fact, if anything, the cult of Slanesh is actually outlawed by Malekith.
By Malekith?
Malarian
now, yeah.
Which apparently has been retconned into the old world.
Really?
Now, yeah. I've heard rumours it's got something to do with...
We're coming on to Dark Elves in a minute, so we can...
Anyway, no, I would have done that tangent and just proving that elves are by far and away superior to everyone.
But, so I hate Chaos Dwarves.
They can stop it any time they want.
Yeah, they can. And then we end up with Slanesh.
Yeah. Anyway.
So Chaos Dwarves are, as Pete said, the most northern hold of the Dwarven realms were lost into the Chaos Waste during a great Chaos incursion. They were then sealed off, not heard from for millennia, long time, many years they weren't heard from, until they finally were heard from again, at which point you ended up with silly hat-wearing Chaos Dwarves. Bull Centaurs, where they've been tempering and messing with magic.
Giant winged bulls.
I'll winged your fucking bulls if you carry on.
Weird Siberian, weird man creatures. That's the Lamassu, isn't it?
Yeah.
Not the winged Taurus. The Lamassu's the weird.
Yeah, a lot of that sort of stuff.
It's basically, a lot of it's just ripped off from Babylonian Sumerian
It really
stuff.
is. And then you add in some steampunk
later on in the sort of lifetime of Warhammer, they kind of quietly... they always got quietly forgotten. But then... Fulgent sort of brought them back a little bit after they did the End Times, because when they did the first round of End Time, when they did the Storm of Chaos invasion, we saw the Hell Cannon was added to the Warriors of Chaos Army, and it was intended to by Chaos Dwarves. Yes. Now they sort of hand washed their sort of old background and the very, very Sumerian type thing, and kind of they're now just sort of artisan types. Yeah. They're sort of the equivalent of the Dark Mechanicum in 40k.
Yes.
They're taking that dwarf ingenuity and shoving demons up its bum.
Yep. So you get Hell Cannons,
cannons, the weird train thing, rocket barrages. Yeah, they always have sort of weird guns. But that's what they are now, kind of.
But their origins are from an issue of White Dwarf, and Pete will probably be able to know what number it was.
No, it's slightly before my time.
Oh, right, okay.
But I know that it is just a White Dwarf.
Yeah, it's just a White Dwarf army. And I am, for one, and dear listener, I hope you agree with me, that I am so glad that this fucking army did not make an appearance ever again. And we're going to move rapidly on into one that I don't actually mind too much.
I think we have this week's poll.
Yes.
Yeah. What do you think of 4-foot hats?
Yeah. What is your opinion, dear listener, of Chaos Dwarves? Please let me know in the comments.
Do you hate them or are you wrong?
Yeah, do you hate them or are you wrong? The next one, it just says here, ogres. Now,
Ogre Kingdoms.
But now I believe they are the Ogre Kingdoms. Were they then? Because this is one that I don't know a lot about.
This is an army that kind of came late on in Warhammer Fantasy terms. Ogres have obviously always been around. There were mercenaries. One of the oldest Dogs of War units was Goldfag's mercenary ogres.
You could even take ogres in Empire armies, couldn't you? They were an Empire unit as well. They existed in the Empire book.
Ogres, all sorts of So the thing was, they took that idea and kind of ran with it. And I think I can never remember the name of the mountain range. I think it was the Grey Mountains, but it's over past the World Edge Mountains is where ogres actually come from. There's like a big sinkhole in the middle of nowhere called the Great Maw, which is the home to their deity. So they're all about eating and food, and their culture's all based around that. I couldn't possibly understand what that's about.
I 100%. I think I'm an ogre.
Yeah.
I would.
But they have a very heavy Mongol. Vibe to them. They've got the big droopy moustaches and stuff like that. They're not massively so, but like it's like there's not steppes.
Hints. Yeah,
it's that kind of steppes tribes thing going on. But so the Ogre Kingdoms then became their own faction. Yeah.
Which are now in Age of Sigmar the Ogre Moor tribes, I believe. Yeah.
They're just the same thing.
Yeah, they've just renamed them slightly. But it's Ogre Kingdoms.
As Ogre Moor tribes, because everything has to be fucking copyrighted. Yes. That's whole issue. That's itself.
Yeah, we're not going into
Join me on my stream if I hear me rant about that.
Yeah, if you go to
Honest Dragon Gaming on Monday, Wednesdays, on Fridays, you'll hear me rant about those.
Yeah, that's. But so the Ogre Kingdoms or the Ogre Moor tribes, they are very much about their food and their tummies. They don't wear much.
They don't wear a lot of armour, but what they do wear is these things they call gut plates, which are big round shield-looking things.
Looks a bit like a plate.
Yeah, they wear over their stomachs because that's the most vital area. Yeah. One of the cool bits of lore they had towards the end was there was a really cool executioner type model who's like a hooded executioner.
Yes.
Who had a big stick with a hook on a chain, and his whole thing was this was the most brutal form of ogre execution was he would hook that behind your gut plate and rip it open. So you would spill your intestines out onto things. It was like the worst punishment you could think of as an ogre.
Well, I mean, it doesn't sound particularly pleasant for anybody that's not an ogre.
But punishment's pretty on the way.
But so it's all about, and they are big eaters. They like to fill the cooking pots.
Yeah, because again, they worship the Maw, it's the eternal hunger thing.
Yeah. They're always hungry, and they are followed.
They also have yetis and things like that, which I love.
And some kind of hounds, I believe, as well. And they ride great mammoths. That was they ride.
They also have massive mammoths with stone tusks.
Stone tusks and stuff.
I can't remember
what the doggies
are. Big cats. Big saber-toothed cat-looking things.
And then you've got, of course, they're followed around by gnoblars or noblars,
which are a cousin to goblins, but infinitely more stupid.
Yeah, they are dumb as.
Yeah, they make goblins look like
hyper intelligent. The average noblar will make your average goblin look like it did an extra masters at Oxford. They are beyond stupid.
Oh, yes.
And they follow the ogres around because the ogres find them funny.
Yes, and they're useful for doing the odd job and things.
And they can get into places.
Some of the funniest models, like the Ogre Kingdom range, had some really great models. I think the best models that I think a lot of people will agree with me is the Ogre Man-Eaters. So these are a unit of ogres they've been mercenaries for a long time and they've come back. Now, a lot of these mercenaries, the Manlings especially, they picked up bits from the cultures they'd been hanging around with for a long time. So it was really cool. So the unit had, at one point, there was a pirate one.
Oh, yes.
There's a pirate pirate ogre who's wielding an anchor, but he has a Noblar dressed as a parrot.
Yes.
On his shoulder.
Is there not a story about that one where he's like fiercely protective of this Noblar in the parrot suit, but it's not the first one because if you ever kill it, they just dress a new Noblar up and he does,
another one
and he doesn't know the difference, so he inadvertently squashes Noblar. Yeah. They're like ramming another one into the parrot suit before he notices. That's
so you had a pirate one, you had a ninja one. There was one from Araby. We got like the sort of big, not tulwar, big scimitar.
Yep.
And the sort of rat thing with a spike on. There was even there's the female ogre with optional beard.
Good times.
Yeah, with a massive rolling pin and a sort of top knot.
That sounds like my grandma.
Yeah. Optional beard.
Optional beard. Yeah.
They were really awesome. They're like I said, they used.
See, I didn't say mother-in-law. See, I was good, and I didn't say mother-in-law.
It's called growth, that is.
Yes, that's...
less to talk about in next week's therapy.
Yes. I'm more likely to survive to next week's episode as well. Yeah.
Anyway.
Yes. Oh. So the Ogre Kingdoms, or the Ogre More tribes. Good God, that's actually quite hard to say. Yeah. Ogre Kingdoms, and they are a very interesting faction. Not one I know a lot about. That's about the sum total.
They play very differently because they don't have a lot of like normal units.
No, they're all
units of monsters. So you sort of rather than big ranks of guys, you have like ranks of 3 or so.
Yeah, they've
got a lot of fun weaponry and cool things.
They have guns.
As well. Yeah, they literally rip cannons off of the trunnions and carry them round.
Yeah. Fire bellies? Are they?
That's like they're weird magic users.
Oh right, okay.
They sort of think Polynesian sort of fire breather types.
Oh okay.
And then you've got like the Noblar scrap launcher, which is literally a catapult where Noblars just throw anything vaguely pointy or solid into it and fire at people.
Love it.
They have a bit of the humour. They're slightly more regimented than orcs and goblins,
but they have Noblars.
But they still have the same humour and the
they have Noblars. The final faction we are coming to now, which we have moderately discussed already today. And this is
totally not Chaos Nature at all.
This is Pete's faction, and they are the Dark Elves of Nagaroth. And they are, of course, we have discussed them in last week's episode because they come up very heavily with the High Elves and a little bit with the Wood Elves. But they are led from Nagaroth by Malekith, who is now Malarian.
For reasons.
I don't know why, because surely it's a name and can't be copyrighted anyway, so it doesn't really matter. But Ogres, sure. But he's going to be Malekith.
He's going to be Malekith.
He'll always be Malekith. And his mother.
Yes,
for he is a mummy's boy.
Oh, yeah.
And his mother...
A little bit too much.
A little bit too much.
Don't read into that.
No.
Really don't.
Marathi, who is a witch elf or the witch elf.
Well, she was the first, but also, the thing with her is, witch elf technically...
Kind of.
Also, she's a lot of things.
So, basically, the Dark Elves are an offshoot of the High Elves of Uthwan, and they are...
Yes. They're originally from the province of Nagareth.
Nagareth, yes.
And they were followers of Anarian, who was the first Phoenix King's second wife,
Marathi.
And her
the second one's always dodgy.
Yeah. And her son, Malekith. We'll call him Malekith.
Malekith. I'm not using the other name.
Yeah. To cut a long story short, after Anarian died, Malekith said, I should be in charge next. The way you become Phoenix King is when you're voted, because it's a voted position, it's not actually hereditary. Once you're voted, you go to the Shrine of Azirian, and there's the Eternal Fire of Azirian, and you walk through it and are symbolically reborn as the Phoenix King.
Yes. Fire, Phoenix, reborn.
Yes, exactly.
Yep.
So Malekith was like, it should be me, killed a bunch of people at the attendance of the shrine, and tried to put himself into the fire to prove his worth. The Flame of Azirian went, fuck no, and set him on fire quite badly. He just about manages to stagger out of the fire. He never quite makes it all the way through, which is important apparently later on. But yeah, he staggers out. He's horrifically burnt, like really, really badly. His mother, Marathi, whisks him away. She tends to him while she's sort of healing him with magic and things. He has a suit of armour literally forged onto his skin because he can't feel it.
Yep. So he has the
armour of midnight.
Yeah, the armour of midnight, which is forged over him because nothing burns him anymore because the fires of Azurian have done way more damage than hot steel will ever do. Yeah, and he does come out looking an awful lot like Sauron.
Yeah.
He has a very... So if you imagine Lord of the Rings, Sauron...
Except his head...
Yeah,
similar vibe.
Yeah, if you don't have quite as pointy in the hat
with
in the
and
films,
he has a face.
You can see his burnt up face.
Well, no, you can't see the face, but it's the mask of the helmet.
It,
is all gold and it's formed in like a snarling.
Yeah,
face.
if you imagine that, but other than that, it's Sauron.
The spikiness,
the big spiky helmets, the big weapony mace. I believe he has a sword. He has a sword. Destroyer.
He destroys magic items.
Ah, okay.
He's also an incredibly powerful mage.
He is.
And that's part of the armour. It helps as a conduit.
Yeah.
He has the Circlet of Dark Iron, I believe, is what it's called. His part was like one of his big magic items before he was burned. That's forged directly into his helmet now, which is part of the thing that makes him really powerful.
Yeah.
They tried to sort of start a civil war and take over Ulthuan, and that didn't go well for them. So
the Dragon Princes came down, and was that bit?
No, that's later on.
Is that later on?
One of the many invasions.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, no.
I'm getting my invasions mixed up.
Pulls itself together.
Yep.
They try to muck about with the vortex. It goes wrong. It drowns a large portion of the western part of Ulthuan.
Yep.
Sinking most of Tiranoc and Nagareth. So they basically go, screw you guys, we're off. Their big powerful sorceresses use powerful magic to rip their cities out of the bedrock, along with a big chunk of the bedrock, I should say, and these become known as the Black Arcs of Nagaroth. They are literal floating cities, which they use to sort of go around the world terrorising and enslaving people.
Yep.
They sailed them over. Some of them they were beached and turned into cities, and this is in the cold lands of Nagaroth, which is sort of in Canada, mostly.
Yeah, it's
the evil Canadians.
Evil Canadians.
They know what's quite nice. Is making me think that all Dark Elves have got Canadian accents.
What's all this about then?
Yes.
Oh no!
We need to go and invade Ulthuan. They've got too many donuts. Apologies to any Canadians.
I'm really sorry.
Before this episode.
I'm really sorry.
So they're one of the comedy accents.
Yeah, they raid the old world for slaves, and the slaves are used not only as a workforce but also as
a source of leather
and sacrifices.
Yes, indeed.
To their mistress's god, because Malekith's not really about that life.
No,
Malekith's much more martial.
Of the Elven pantheon, there's lots of gods in the Elven pantheon, but the one that is predominant in Dark Elf society, well, there's two.
Yep.
Probably one is Caelan Cain, which we fans of the Eldar and 40K will know that name. He's the god of murder, technically.
Yes.
That makes him not Khorne. So, there's a big cult of Cain is Harganeth, the city of executioners. That's their sort of big base.
Yep.
The witch elves and the hags, that's where they're from.
Yep.
They have the big cauldrons of blood, which Morathi gave to them. Every year there's like a big festival where a shitload of people are executed and they
set a load of slaves free into the streets, and they all think they're able to escape. And they get
it's murder Mardi Gras,
herded and butchered, and the streets are thus painted red with blood.
Yes.
And
we celebrate the New Year.
Yeah, celebrate the New Year.
And then the blood of the sort of dead, the old crones that are in charge of the cult of Cain bathe in the blood in these cauldrons that are renewed and rejuvenated.
Made beautiful once more.
Yes, but it fades, because the only one it doesn't fade for is Morathi, strangely.
Yeah, I wonder why that is.
I know, right?
I know, I wonder why the follower of...
So there's a lot of tension in the sort of cult of Cain, between Morathi, who is also a powerful sorceress and kind of leader of the cult of pleasure, which is
not remotely Slanesh, honestly.
And Helebron, who is the actual leader of the cult of Cain.
Yeah.
She is incredibly hateful towards Morathi because she looks older and older as the years go by, even like rejuvenating as much as she can. Yeah, so that's one of the big pillars of their society. One of my favourite all-time characters from Warhammer Fantasy and the awesome novels therein is Malice
Darkblade, yes.
Who is one of the coolest characters. Proper full. Like, the Dark Elves are all assholes, but he's one of those lovable assholes. Like, I'm not going to lie, he's not a good guy.
He's not a good guy.
These are written by... Originally it was a comic series by Dan Abnett.
Everything by Dan Abnett is good.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, mostly.
Mostly.
But... Yeah, it was written by then Mike Lee, I think, and then wrote a novel series. The first one's called The Demon's Curse, which is now available on... It's
because Malice is the one that's got a demon living in him.
Yeah. So the whole story about Malice is he's a fifth or sixth son of a noble lord, and he's desperately trying to curry favour amongst his peers. And he leads an expedition up north to where he thinks a massive treasure is. It turns out, nope, trick, it's on you. It's a demon. A demon steals his soul and bonds with his body and tells him he's got a year and a day to find a bunch of magical artifacts to free the rest of the demon and return him to the thing, or he'll keep his soul forever. The first sort of storyline is him going and getting all these artifacts. One of my favourite, because the thing is, he spends the first 2 books, and the demon keeps trying to talk to him, and he spends like the first 2, like 3 few chapters of the comic book. The only words he ever says to the demon Zarkan is "Shut up, demon." So like Zarkan goes on all these things tangents, and then he's just like "Shut up, demon."
Shut up, demon.
So at one point, he's like, "You've said that to me like 73 times. Shut up, demon." 74. And then one of my favourite ones is the Dagger of Torxus, which has been found by his father.
Right.
And the chapter in the comic is really cool because it's like these bunch of Dark Elves are all celebrating. They're like, "We have found this awesome magical power. Our names will be inscribed upon like the whole Realms of Victory." And then the window smashes in, and Malice just comes in screaming, "They'll be inscribed on mortuary urns." Fights everybody, kills what turned out to be his dad because you don't realise that until the end. Takes the dagger, and then as he's riding away, Zarkan's like, "Malice, did you just kill your father for that?" And obviously he's like, "Shut up, demon." He's like, "You know what, Malice? You scare me sometimes, and I'm a demon." That gives you a bit of a clue. But yeah, Malice he's awesome. He's just he's really, really good at the whole backstabbing thing and like knowing when to cut and run. And he was awesome. He was he was one of the characters done so freaking dirty at the end times. Yep. It upsets me greatly.
Yes,
but
we will discuss the end times, dear listener, and we will upset.
The Dark Elf Society is really cool.
Yes, it is. There's also a bunch of other really cool characters. Their army's made up of. Predominantly what you would imagine from a raiding civilization, so you've got very fast-moving...
Again, they've got the different pillars. We've had covered the Cult of Cain.
Yep.
The other one, the raiders sort of come under the Black... The
Black Arcs.
The Corsairs.
The Corsairs.
So they wear, like, lizard cloaks. They're like pirates.
Yes.
There's a whole thing with them.
They also have some beasties.
Yes, like Hydras.
And
the Beastmasters of Clark-Arond is a big thing. Rakarth... The Beastmaster.
Rakarth the Beastmaster,
yes. Classic model.
He has a really cool artwork for Total War because his face is absolutely beautiful on one side, and something has got him on the other side. So you've got when he's looking one way, you've got your very traditional, classic, beautiful elf looking there, and when he turns the other way, it's gnarly as shit, and he can cover it with magic, but he doesn't.
Yeah.
So he can still look perfectly fine, but he's like, no, I fought whatever did this to me. There's a story behind it.
Yeah, he's like the famed Beastmaster.
Yeah, he's the guy who goes and finds the beasties and then he's like and tames them.
And they have like chimeras and manticores and harpies,
hydras.
One of the big things, well, is for their cavalry don't ride horses; they ride cold ones, which they capture from Lustria.
Yep.
Down south.
They nick them.
They nick them and train them.
Yep.
There's a really cool thing is like to stop them, because they're basically like giant velociraptors, and the thing is, to stop them eating the riders, they sort of secrete this weird slime stuff. So the riders have to daub themselves in this slime all the time. So the cold one's like, "Yep, you're part of my pack.
You're part of my pack, it's fine." Yep.
Yeah, but this also apparently like dulls the senses of the cold one knights every time.
And they become a bit sort of slower. And not quite as things, so they're very heavy cavalry-esque. They do ride some horses, the Warpfire, Doomfire Warlocks,
and the Dark Riders as well.
Yes, and they ride actual horses.
Yes, but they've been twisted and
fed on.
Think like the horses of the
Black Riders, the Black Riders.
Almost like they're the same.
Almost like weird looking things. But other than that, they do Dark Elves, crossbows rather than...
High Elves are like bows.
Longbows.
Dark Elves are the repeater crossbows, so they've got like magazines where they can fire lots of bolts really quickly.
Also repeater bolt throwers, similar to the same sort of things. And really, really cool faction that I'm a bit disappointed isn't there, honestly.
I know, but I'm going to force it. They're my first army. I think they're my army that I have the most models of.
I'm fortunate that my first army made the cut.
Yeah.
Because orcs and goblins are there. So I got my army. But if I am to say I'm disappointed about any of them, I think I would have really liked to have seen the vampire counts.
Same.
I think that's the one of all of them.
The problem is as well, because we knew that Old World was coming for a long time, and then they re-released the Soulblight Gravelords.
Yeah. And
rather than sort of pushing them further into Age of Sigmar, which they've done with some of the armies, they literally went, here's new Blood Knights, here's new Giant Bats, here's new Bat Swarms. And I'm like, but these are just fantasy units.
Yep.
Why can't I have them?
Yeah, so the new Blood Knights are so cool, dude.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
See, I was tempted. See, a way to get around this. This is a really cool idea I thought I had was Bretonnia are illegal.
Yes.
Why not Undead Bretonnians?
Undead Bretonnians.
Why not use Blood Knights as Knights of the Realm or Ground Knights, whatever? Use Black Knights as my Knights of the Realm, and then use Blood Knights as Grail Knights. I've just got to figure out how to do Peasant Bowmen, because the Archers, Skeleton Archers from Khemri are not as nice as the Vampire one.
No. That'd
be... I just don't take any Archers. Real men
don't need bows. Yeah. You could have some your men at arms types.
Men at arms is easy.
Ghouls. Yes.
Yeah. Well, no, I was going to use Graveguard.
Graveguard. Cool Graveguard and the Onosark Bone Reaper stuff as well. They've got some good.
Yeah, but I think for me, I want that classic.
Yeah.
Because I really want to do a Vampire Counts army because. Yeah. I love that gothic look to them. We've got like the units of direwolves.
I just love the eternal love story of. I'm not going to spoil it because there's a big chunk in the end times and it's really cool, and I do want to do that.
Oh, do they bring back Vlad?
Vlad and Isabella are a big part of that Nagashi's story arc for the end times, and it is this eternal. It's one of the only eternal love stories.
It's a bit like I absolutely love the whole Spider-Man Mary Jane thing.
Yeah,
no matter what happens to them, they're eventually going to come back to each other.
Yes, and that happens in the end times and stuff for that. Cool. But we have covered the missing factions that are not in Old World, but are legacy, or as Pete likes to call them, renegade factions. Because you're not allowed to use them in tournaments, but I'm pretty certain that local stores are going to let you use them, because why would you not?
Because at the moment, what else are you going to do?
What else are you going to do? Okay, so next time we are going to be discussing Pete's favourite characters
in Warhammer Fantasy, which is the brothers Tyrion and Teclis.
From the faction of the High Elves of Uthwan. Yes. Now, I do know a little bit about them, because I'm not stupid and I've listened to the Old World and I know some of it, but not my favourite faction, so I don't know a lot about it. So you're going to be doing a lot of the thing, and I'm going to be poking the bear in question times for any bits you've missed.
Yeah, and probably enraging me about certain things.
Yes, and probably winding you up about some bits as well.
Which is fair, because I do that to you all the time.
Yes, exactly. So next week, or rather next episode, which will be next week, won't it?
Yes.
Yeah, it will be next week, will be Tyrion and Teclis of the High Elves of Uthwan.
Yes.
So thank you all for listening. We do appreciate it. Especially... but not exclusively, our Filipino listeners. And if you are in the Philippines and you do want to check out Pete on Twitch or us on Twitch, we are Lazy Dragon Gaming. We will be appearing on Twitch very soon, and Onyx Dragon Gaming. It's on Twitch now.
Yes, and apparently you can put it to Google. If you put Onyx Dragon Gaming to Google, I'm right there.
You're right there.
I'm really excited about it.
Yeah, you're top on Google.
I am.
And we'll get you big in the Philippines.
I am the most Onyx Dragon Gaming.
You are the most Onyx Dragon Gaming. Yeah. Thank you very much for listening, folks. We hope you have a wonderful week, and we will speak to you again next time. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.